107.5 WBLS, your number one source for R&B.
I am in an empire state of mind right about now. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I got my New York brother in the building. Now tell us exactly where you're from, DJ Cassidy.
I'm from Manhattan, born and raised.
Now what part? Because, you know, you got to get
Upper
specific.
East Side of Manhattan, born and raised.
What street?
77th was where I was born and raised.
Really? Over there by, on the east side?
East Side.
You talking about Lenox Hill area?
Around there, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, 3 blocks from Lenox Hill Hospital.
All right.
Actually, not where I was born. I was born in New York Hospital, 10 blocks down. But yeah, 4 blocks from there.
Wow. So you grew up, you went to what high school?
I went to Riverdale Country School. Then I went to college in New York, NYU.
Nice.
NYU for 4 years.
Right.
Never left New York. Tried living in a dorm for about a week, and that didn't work. I preferred living with my mother, where the meals and the laundry and the comfort were free.
Yeah, exactly.
And even when I graduated college and my DJ career had been in full swing since high school, still chose to live with my mother for another 3 years until she finally said, "You have more of a career at this age than most adults do at the age of 50.
Right.
You need to go."
Right.
So I packed up and moved 4 blocks away.
So you are saying that you have confessed to us that you are a mama's boy.
I am indeed. And a grandmother's boy
Really?
as well. Yeah, we all live in a 10-block radius, so it's very hard for me to leave. And people are often very surprised that I stayed up there. Everyone always expects me to live downtown.
Right.
But my work has always been downtown, so
Right.
it's good for me to have this kind of place to have my own space, and my family's there.
Well, I see that you had ample enough names to choose from because I was looking at your bio. Cassidy, Durango, Milton, Willie,
Podell.
Are you named after several people in your family, or these are all names that you've acquired over the years? What is that?
No, I think my parents grew up in the era of intoxication. And were very creative, free-spirited people. And they couldn't decide on a name, so they gave me them all.
And they never had any other children?
They had they had one more. I have a sister.
Okay.
She only has 3. I have 5.
Wow.
But they were into cowboy things. Hop Along Cassidy, Durango Kid. So some of those names came from there, and 2 of them came from family members. So some had a purpose.
Very interesting. So how did you end up in the clubs to meet Puffy?
Well, you know, I grew up into hip-hop. I was a hip-hop kid, 3 years old, jumping up and down on my bed to breaking. 5 years old, jumping up and down on my bed to Run DMC.
Right.
By the time I was 9 years old, I was looking up to Kool Herc, Africa Bambaataa, and Grandmaster Flash.
That is a blessing.
They were my heroes. I was never into to sports or to comic books or anything like that, so my superheroes were them. Wow. And seeing Kool Herc in the car with the speakers coming out of the backseat, that was just such an iconic image. I just wanted to be them. So I asked my parents for 2 turntables and a mixer. And when I turned 10, they surprised me. And my first piece of vinyl ever was Nice and Smooth, Sometimes I Rhyme Slow.
Wow, my cousin used to dance with Nice and Smooth.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And now Greg Nice is one of my dearest friends. So it's weird how things kind of come around full circle.
Absolutely.
But I just DJ'd every possible opportunity I found, starting at that age. Literally anything in school that they would let me bring my equipment in. School talent shows, carnivals, homecoming parties, anything. Then the girls started to hire me for Sweet 16s when they were in 10th grade, 11th grade. And then the guys who threw the club parties at the underage clubs, back then they kind of had those. Now there's less.
Right.
But I did those, and by the time I finished high school, I was doing the real hot spots around the city.
Nice. And
so one night I'm 18 years old.
Right.
And I'm playing at a club downtown on 14th Street, Lotus, that no longer exists.
I remember
I'm not sure
Lotus.
If you remember Lotus. It was a hot spot, but it was kind of a dead night. I remember it was pouring rain, and it was empty. And at 3 in the morning, I see Puffy come out of the corner of the room with Kim Porter. And they go to the middle of the dance floor and start dancing, and they don't stop till 5 in the morning. Wow. Now, I was playing the soul classics of the 70s and 80s, much of the records that you guys play.
Right.
And Puffy walked by me at 5 and said, "Where's the DJ?" And I say, "I'm the DJ." And he looks at me curiously and is like, who's been playing all this old stuff all night? I say, me. So he looks at me funny. And for those of you out there, I'm trying to do the face now. It's, how would you describe this face?
Mean mugging?
But like curious.
Right.
Yeah, curious.
You look like you mean mugging right
now.
now.
No, like this.
Okay. Like
a chin scratch.
Like a
Yeah, like a mean mugging. So he writes down his number on a napkin. I still have this napkin. And says, call me the next day. This was my freshman year of college, NYU. And I go to class and I procrastinate calling all day. You know, I was scared to call Puff.
Yeah.
Who wants to call, someone so famous?
Absolutely.
It's intimidating.
Yeah.
So finally I get the balls to call and I get his voicemail and it says, God is the greatest. So to add to the intimidation level. So I stammer through a message, hi, this is DJ Cass. And I'm like, that's the end of that. I'm never hearing from him.
Right.
Anyway, I get out of class and I get a voicemail from his assistant, call us back at the office. I run home, I slam my door. Mom, I got to make an important call. I call. And before I could say, hi, it's DJ Cassidy, he's on the phone. Hey, yo, Playboy, I just want to tell you, I never seen a young white boy rock that kind of soul music like this before. I didn't even know that could be in someone like you. I'm so impressed with what you did last night. I'm throwing a party for the MTV Awards next week, and I want you to DJ.
Nice.
A week later, I was DJing for him and every other star in hip-hop, R&B, and pop music that existed at the time. And to make a long story short, because we can't be here all day, I went on to DJ parties around the world for Puffy, but also for Jennifer Lopez and Jay-Z and Beyonce and Mary J. and Kanye and Russell Simmons and Naomi Campbell and Anna Wintour and Oprah Winfrey, which all led...
the president. You have been pretty much a DJ Royale because the president has been choosing you to do several of his events.
Yes.
Now, tell us about that call coming in.
Well, I was the first DJ to ever play a presidential inauguration. I was the first DJ to ever play at the White House. I was the one-man house band at the Democratic National Convention, first DJ to ever do so. I got the call to essentially program the music for all 10 inaugural balls. And I performed live at one of them because I was, of course, unable to be in all 10 at one time.
Right.
But they were all under one roof at a convention center, right? So right before I went on at the ball where I was, supposed to play, I kind of ran into a few others and I hear my music playing. And it was one of the most incredible feelings of all time.
I can imagine.
Until, of course, a year later when I DJ'd at the White House for the first time, which surpassed everything.
So did he hear you playing somewhere else and he told his people to call your people? Is that how it happened? Or
Well, rumor has it that some of the process came through none other than Oprah.
Oh.
And there was also someone in his camp who I've known for years, who's a fan of what I do, and he was involved as well, and has played a huge part in the past 4 years. So it all kind of came together, and it has been truly the most surreal experiences of my life. And it's something you never get used to. Every time you walk into the White House, it actually gets more and more surreal because now you know your way around, and now the staff knows your name, and it begins to become even stranger than it was the first time. And I remember the first time I ever played at the White House, it was for the president's 50th birthday party, and I'm standing in the red room, the famous red room, green room, yellow room. So I'm standing in the famous red room, which is adjacent to the room where I'm about to go on stage. Gorgeous. I mean, it's the most regal royale, no pun intended.
Red ever.
Yeah. And I call my grandmother and I'm like, Mama, I'm in the red room about to DJ in the White House. How am I here? Why am I here? Looking at the front window, looking out of the front window. I could go on and on. It's been the greatest experiences of my life. They were playing records of all genres, and that was their process of creating hip hop. And that totally inspired me and opened my mind. And I made it my mission as a young kid to be the DJ that people would play all music for all people all over the world.